Hey guys, welcome back this week. Today we're talking about Paul. Now, Paul's really interesting because he did not start out as a believer in Jesus. He actually persecuted people who said that they did believe Jesus was who he said he was. Now, Paul had an epiphany at some point. And what's an epiphany? Well, it's when you decide that you've had a phenomenal idea and it's like the best idea you've ever had. That's an epiphany, when you come to realize something you never realized before. So Paul has this epiphany and he realizes through his experience in that Jesus really is who he said he was. And so now Paul is a believer in Jesus. And instead of persecuting people who believed in Jesus, Paul becomes one of the most outspoken people for Jesus and his believers. Paul actually writes a series of letters, and one of the ones that we're focusing on today is called Ephesians. And here's what Paul says to the believers in Ephesus, thus Ephesians. This is what he says to them about how they should be prepared for maybe attacks from the devil, right? That sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? But here's what Paul says. In Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 13, Paul tells us this. Finally, let the Lord make you strong. Depend on his mighty power. Put on all of God's armor. Then you can remain strong against the devil's evil plans. Okay, so he continues though. He says, our fight is not against human beings. It is against the rulers, the authorities, and the powers of this dark world. It is against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly world. So put on all of God's armor. Evil days will come, but you will be able to stand up to anything. And after you have done everything you can, you will still be standing. So how does that really kind of translate to today? Because it's not like we're all warriors putting on our armor, right? But let's look at maybe a soccer goalie. A soccer goalie knows that a ball is going to be kicked at them at any given time during the game or even practice. So they are prepared, right? They wear special gloves. They have some extra padding in their uniforms. They're prepared for a flying object to come at them from someone else's foot at any given moment. Now think about maybe a football player. They wear their helmets, they wear their pads, they wear pads even on like their hips and legs sometimes, and they even wear like cleats to help them gain better traction on the ground. Those are all to protect them against the things that they know are going to come at them, like another football player, the ground. Those things come at football players pretty quickly sometimes. Even baseball catchers, right? They wear gear. They have a mask. They have a thicker glove than other position players. They're wearing padding on their chest. They're wearing padding on their legs, even over their feet, because they're going to be right back behind the batter. And so somebody's going to be swinging a metal or wooden object right above their head at any given moment. And a small flying object that's really hard could come back at them at any time and hit them in the face, in the chest, the legs, anywhere. They're prepared for what is coming. Whether it comes or not, they're ready for it. So why can't we as Christians be ready for it? Well, that's what Paul's telling us when he tells us to put on all of God's armor. So what is God's armor? Well, it starts by just reading your Bible, knowing what's here, knowing what's in this, knowing what God tells us, knowing what Jesus said while he was walking here on earth. Those are really important pieces of your armor. You know, prayer, praying to God, talking with him, listening for the little cues that he gives you. Those are huge pieces of your armor too. Those and following maybe a devotional, listening, worshiping. Those are all things that are in our armor from God. Even serving God is something that is in our armor because it fulfills us. It brings us closer to Him. And the closer we are to God, the stronger our relationship is with Him, the better we will be able to keep those evil forces, as Paul says, away. So, think about when you're having a bad day and you're just really, really in a bad mood, right? Your little brother or sister comes in your room and they're touching all your stuff again and you just want to scream. That's not the right answer. Maybe taking a break, praying, reading your Bible, or just singing a really uplifting worship song, maybe those are ways that could help change your frame of mind, bring you back to being centered with God, and then you would be able to have a much better outlook on the rest of your day. So find your armor, put your armor on, spend time in the Bible, spend time praying, and be ready for those evil forces when they come your way. The Bible's clear, they will come. We just have to be ready for them. Bye, guys.